Hey, it's Kaero. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing something a little bit different. We're going back in time to the set Kaldheim from Magic the Gathering and taking a look at the top 10 best cards in Standard at that time. Why are we doing this? Because I feel like I'm in a retrospective mood today and I want to revisit some of the glory days of Standard on Arena with Kaldheim at the front. There were so many good cards in this set that it's hard to narrow it down to 10 cards, but we are doing that today and we'll start right now. If you like this video and you want me to do more of these in the future, since this is the very first one, please hit that thumbs up, consider subscribing to see more, and let me know in the comments. Number 10. We are going to start out with Old Growth Troll. This was specifically played in mono green, as you can tell by the 3 green pips. It was rare as a 4/4. It had trample as a troll warrior, and when it dies, if it was a creature, return it to the battlefield. It's an aura enchantment with enchant forest you control, and enchanted forest has tap add double green and 1, and tap sacrifice this land, create a tapped 4/4 green troll warrior creature token with trample. In mono green aggro decks, this was nearly the best 3-drop in the format, even considering other decks. I mean, you have 4/4 with trample, so it's getting through for some damage. It's really hard to answer, and if you do answer it, it ramps them on turn 4 into a 6-drop. Or a 5-drop. So you could really just ramp with this thing, keep these on your forests, and then even if you ran out of gas later in the game, you just tap those forests, sacrifice them when you have extra, and make 4/4 green troll warrior creature tokens, and those had trample too. This was a nasty 3-drop, and I really enjoyed playing with this card. Coming in at number 9, we have Doomscar. This was the bane of your existence. If you saw white and you saw blue come down, you knew that they were probably going to do a Doomscar. If you saw that foretell trigger go, where it's like whoosh and it goes into exile, you're like, that's definitely a Doomscar. I need to not play all my powerful creatures right away. This is a 5-drop. If you cast it, sorcery speed, destroy all creatures, but you could foretell it. Now, foretell was a mechanic from Kaldheim that you could pay 2 generic mana and exile this card from your hand face down, so they couldn't see what it was, and you can cast it later on for its foretell cost, and each card had a different foretell cost, but it always costs 2 to exile it. So if you exile this on turn 2, that means on turn 3, if you have double white and 1 colorless, you could destroy all creatures. This was the go-to sweeper in the format, and it really made you scared whenever you saw that foretell swish and you were playing aggro. At number 8, we have Vorinclex, Monstrous Raider, and this is what kicked off the Phyrexian invasion that spanned all these sets up until now. It is currently May 2023, and we just finished up the Aftermath March of the Machine set, so this is where it all started. If you'll notice, this is a Phyrexian Praetor. This is the first one that had the Phyrexian creature type. It's 6 mana, it has trample and haste. It's a 6/6, and if you would put 1 or more counters on a permanent or player, put twice that many on each on those kind of counters on that permanent player instead. And if an opponent would put 1 or more on a permanent or player, they put half as many. So this did see some play in mono green, but with the release of and the popularity of the Sultai Ultimatum deck that came to popularity, where they played Emergent Ultimatum and got 3 cards, and you could put, if I'm remembering this correctly, 1 back in their deck, and then they got to play 2 for free. You could grab Vorinclex, and you could grab another card on this list, so stay tuned. And it was just absolutely a nasty common, and it was in the top of the meta when Kaldheim was in Standard. I think it was a couple sets later, but this card is a monster, and it is responsible for kicking off the Phyrexian arc. At number 7, we have an uncommon and Saw It Coming. Now, when you see this card at first glance, a lot of people, I think, were just like, okay, it's a 3-mana counterspell. 3-mana counterspells typically aren't played unless there's some sort of benefit to them, right? They're just, 2 mana is better, even if it has limitations. But Saw It Coming has that foretell once again. So you can foretell this for 2 colorless mana and pay 2 for it later. And if you don't have much going on in the early turns and you're playing control, having a 2-mana unconditional counterspell, even if it costs you 4 mana total over multiple turns, that flexibility there really mattered. And this was the counterspell of choice for Kaldheim Standard. At number 6, we have Frostbite. This is 1 red mana, 2 damage target creature or planeswalker, so it can't hit every target, but you do get into lightning bolt range with this if you have 3 or more snow permanents, and that includes snow lands. So it's easy enough just to run snow mountains if your deck cares about that, and you can frostbite things at instant speed for 3 damage. You can hit planeswalkers with it too, so that's about ready to kill any planeswalker that comes in and ticks down. You can kill it at instant speed for 1 mana, 3 damage. Now, it's not lightning bolt, but it is a powerful removal spell, and it's very efficient and was huge in mono red aggro. Coming in at number 5, I had the card that I was talking about earlier with the combo with Vorinclex. This is Valki, God of Lies, or Tybalt, Cosmic Imposter. So the thing about this card was, in the very beginning of Kaldheim Standard, people were like playing it in Rakdos, right? And they're like, okay, Valky's pretty good. It comes in for each opponent, or they reveal their hand, you exile a creature card, and then you can have it become that creature later. It kind of got blown out whenever you choose a creature and have it become that, because they could just remove it in response. But the thing is, whenever they cast Emergent Ultimatum in this standard, they were able to get, even though it says monocolored card, the front side is black and the back side is Rakdos, so you're able to get Tybalt and put Tybalt in, and Tybalt, instead of Valki, is very powerful. So it's a 7-drop, 5 loyalty planeswalker. When it comes in, you get an emblem with you may play cards exile with Tybalt, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast those spells. You go +2, exile the top card of each player's library, -3, exile target artifact or creature, which you could then play because it's exiled with Tybalt. Or you could -8, exile all cards from all graveyards, add 3 red mana. So if you bring Vorinclex and Tybalt in, it gets double counters, it goes up to 10, you immediately -8, exile all those cards from all graveyards, add some mana, and just play whatever you want, whatever your little heart desires, and that was enough to end games. So whenever you had the choice, it was almost cruel when they cast Emergent Ultimatum, because you got the choice, right? It would be kind of better if they just gave you 2 cards and you're like, oh, those are going to play. But making that painful choice was was really not cool to play against sometimes, and Tybalt was a big part of that. At number 4 on this list is Binding the Old Gods. This is a saga. It's 4 mana in Golgari colors. Turn 1, destroy target non-land permanent an opponent controls, which is like just kind of just above rate, right? If you had an instant or sorcery spell that cost 3 or 4 mana for any non-land permanent, that's a pretty good rate by itself. But then step 2, you get to search your library for a forest card, put it onto the battlefield, tapped, shuffle your library, so the next turn it will ramp you. And then 3 creatures you control gain death touch till end of turn. Doesn't really matter. I mean, I've had it matter sometimes, which was hilarious, but basically what you wanted to do with this thing is cast this for 4, destroy a non-land permanent, and then you would flicker it with Yorion or some other form of flicker, but Yorion was the main thing, and you just keep bringing this back and killing things and getting value off of it, getting lands and things like that. So this was a very good high value card in Golgari. We're at number 3. Can you believe it? How the time flies. We're already here. So number 3, I have Righteous Valkyrie. Righteous Valkyrie was one of those cards that was kind of slept on and wasn't really good at the release of Kaldheim, but there came an Angel deck as more sets got released, and it was very, very powerful. It was a great life gain deck. This is a 3 mana 2/4 Flying Angel Cleric, and that actually matters because another Angel or Cleric enters the battlefield under your control. You gain life equal to that creature's toughness, and as long as you have at least 7 more life than your starting total, creatures you control get +2/+2. So not only does this thing have high toughness for a 3-drop, it also flies, so it's evasive. It also counts angels or clerics, so you didn't have to run just angels. You could run little clerics that cost 1 or 2 mana, like Luminarch Aspirant comes to mind for 2 mana, probably the best white card from Zendikar Rising. And this deck, once it got going, it just snowballed out of control, and the ability to gain life and also use that life as an offensive strategy to buff all your creatures and swing for lethal was nasty later. So Righteous Valkyrie comes in at 3. At number 2, if you made it this far and you were around for Kaldheim Standard, you probably know it's either one of 2 cards, and if it's not this one, it'll be number 1. But it is Alrund's Epiphany. 7 mana, create 2 1/1 blue bird creature tokens with flying. And then, a little extra text here. Take an extra turn after this one and exile Alrund's Epiphany and also foretell. So same with Doomscar, you can pay 2 generic mana, exile this from your hand, and then it costs 1 less, but turn 6 instead of turn 7 really matters, especially when paired with Galvanic Iteration, which lets you copy this, and sometimes you'd even be lucky enough to cast 2 Galvanic Iterations before this, and you can take multiple extra turns in a row, create a bunch of birds, and even if you don't have anything else on the field, having 4 to 6 1/1 flying birds that the opponent doesn't have a chance to respond to if it's not an instant speed removal spell can win you the game. The opponent should only have like 20 life unless they're gaining a bunch, and those birds can actually just bring the opponent down on their own. Alrund's Epiphany was a terrific card, and Is It Turns was one of the top decks for a long time. At number 1, if you haven't guessed it yet, I'm about to blow your mind if you've never seen this card, and if you have seen this card, you know exactly what's at number 1. It is Goldspan Dragon. Any non-red aggro deck, if it had red in the deck, it basically ran Goldspan Dragon. This is a monster. 5 mana, 2 of those have to be red, but it's Flying Haste 4/4 Dragon. Already good, right? But when it attacks or becomes the target of a spell, you get to create a treasure token, and as you know, you can sacrifice treasure tokens to provide 1 mana of any color into your pool, but also treasures you control have tap, sacrifice this artifact, add 2 mana of any one color. You get 1 Goldspan Dragon on the field on turn 5. You swing in, deal 4 damage, get yourself a treasure. You can sacrifice that treasure to cast your Foretold Saw It Coming or protect this dragon. Makes it extremely hard to deal with. If you have 2 Goldspan Dragons on the field, you can basically cast whatever you want. You're making so much treasure. This card also made its appearance in different iterations of Is It Turns and Is It Dragons. You guessed it, Goldspan Dragon right into Alrund's Epiphany, and that's why Goldspan Dragon is the best card from Kaldheim. Now, Kaldheim was a very powerful set, so there are a lot of really good cards that are not on this list. So if you say, Kaero, what about this card that I really like? Well, some of the honorable mentions that I thought about but didn't make the top 10 were Showdown of the Skalds, Immersturm Predator, the vampire dragon that was really hard to get rid of because you could sack another creature and it gained indestructible till end of turn. And the best 1-drop in the white aggro deck, Usher of the Fallen, which is hilarious actually because it's 1 white and it's a 2/1 and you could boast it when it attacked to make another 1/1 human warrior, but you hardly really ever did that. White aggro was so strong with Luminarch Aspirant with Zendikar Rising that basically you just wanted this as your 1-drop 2/1, but it saw a lot of play and it was very effective. So that wraps up the video. This is the first top 10 video I've ever done for the channel. There's a lot of standard best of 1 gameplay. If you like these top 10 videos and you want to see more, please hit that like. Let me know in the comments that I should do more of these in the future. And if you have any suggestions for cards that I missed, even in the honorable mentions, just let me know in the comments. Till next time, have a great day.